Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest moments of the Brian Kilmeade Show. Thanks so much for listening. Bobby Barack's going to bring us inside the media. Covers politics, culture, and media more for Outkick. Does a great job. Jackie Heinrich is standing by, fresh off her appearance in the D.C., her press appearance, filling in for Dana Perino on Fox Newsroom. So that's great, America's Newsroom. And we'll get some insight into what's happening on Capitol Hill. We know the President of the United States has a national security meeting with his counsel over in the Situation Room, all regarding, we imagine, the Middle East. We don't think he's talking about sanctions on Russia, sadly, which I wish we would actually hammer them with. But the president, I can disagree with the president. It's no problem. I'm not going to. It's just my opinion. He's got the Republican Party on the other side, a bunch of issues with him. And I think it's led by what he says, the MAGA world, which, by the way, he created the MAGA world. So someone should tell him that I guess he is not leading the charge anymore. Steve Bannon and others who are out there saying, don't get involved in our top story. But first, big three.
Number 3.
This will reduce the deficit, not increase it. And the reason for that is, one, we are going to have the biggest spending reduction in history. But secondly, all the other things I mentioned are going to generate growth in the economy.
That is John Thune. Can they get the big, beautiful bill done Senate side by the 4th of July? And will it look anything like what the House handed them? We'll talk about it.
Number 2.
Yeah, I want them to focus on the cities, because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor.
That is true, Mr. President. Change of plans. Trump backing off illegals who are working in vital industries while clamping down and cracking down on the illegals thriving in blue cities. Let's make it easy. Get rid of the worst first.
Number 1.
Where the president is, he's supporting Israel 100% to complete the campaign that they started here. And that campaign focuses on Iran's center of gravity, their nuclear enterprise.
General Jacqui knows no one's better than him. Day 5, Israel and Iran exchanged rocket-fired attacks, with Iran taking critical blows while Israel has absorbed 24 deaths. Are we about to ramp up our participation from defensive posture to more offensive posture when it comes to the nuclear program? I know the President of the United States just came out and just put out on Truth Social, and I'll paraphrase. He essentially says, reports that says I reached out to Iran for talks are 100% not true. They know how to reach me. With me right now, or shortly, is Jackie Heinrich. She's going to be joining me. Okay, she's here. Hey, Jackie.
I'm here. Hey, Brian. How's it going?
Good. I did not know you were on Zoom, so I was waiting to see you pop up on screen. Congratulations. You're now president of the White House Correspondent Association.
Thank you. Well, I'm president actually in the 3rd year of my term, which happens to be the last year of President Trump's term. So hopefully when we have a Fox dinner, maybe we have a president coming. And hopefully by then, the White House Correspondents Association is in a different place with the administration than it is right now. So I think everyone's excited to just move forward.
I understand. So wait a second. So they said in year 4. So you have 2 more years to wait.
Yeah, I'm on the board. I'm on the executive committee for those first 2 years. So I'll be treasurer, then vice president, then president in the 3rd year.
All right. Let's talk about the latest. What do you think the real reason is the president left the G7?
Well, I mean, I think that all signs point to the potential for U.S. support of Israel's campaign against Iran. You have, U.S. assets being positioned in the region, ostensibly to, protect whatever forces might be going in to try to destroy the enrichment site at Fordo. You had the president saying on Air Force One that, for this to finish, you've got to have a permanent and verifiable end of Iran's nuclear pursuits. You have people gathering in the Situation Room overnight. You don't leave a summit for something that falls at a lesser degree than something like that, where you've got to sort of have all eyes on our forces in the region and making sure that the U.S. is protecting its assets. So I think that probably we are close to the president maybe authorizing some sort of support for Israel. What that looks like, whether it's American pilots dropping the 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs on Fordo itself, or providing some sort of air cover to Israel if it tries to do some sort of a ground operation to take out those sites. That's to be determined. But the president has been very, very clear that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Israel has said this will not be a success if there continues to be enrichment after they're done with this thing. So that would tell you that they're going to go to Fordo. And also the president messaging to his base that, look, I know there are some among you who are anti-interventionist, but you can't be America first and allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And, speaking to that divide and at the same time appearing committed to whatever decision he might have made in his head, or at least direction he wants to go, result that he wants to see, might indicate that we could see some developments soon here.
I think so. And also, I don't hear anybody reporting that the U.S. is pushing Israel to wrap it up. And we know those reports get out pretty quickly. And a lot of times it's intentional. I don't see that at all. And the Israelis are saying they've not been pushed to wrap it up either. Here's General Jacqui on what he thinks should be done. Cut 17.
Where the president is, he's supporting Israel 100% to complete the campaign that they started here. And that campaign focuses on Iran's center of gravity, their nuclear enterprise. And they want to destroy that enterprise as much as they possibly can, decapitate the leadership, and they're doing a remarkable job in doing that, and also eliminate their ballistic missiles, which is their major weapon that they're using against the Israelis. And they're making significant progress in all three of these areas, and the president is behind that 100%.
So, and, Jacqui's got great contacts with the White House.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I listened closely to what he's saying about what we might see in the next coming hours or days, when he says that the president is supporting Israel 100%, and Israel is saying, there will be no bomb and there will be no enrichment, and we're going to stop at nothing, and it's absolute BS when Iran says if you stop, we'll stop. That says that there has been a decision made. Now, that's just reading the tea leaves. We couldn't report that as fact, but it's a strong indicator, I would think, of what they are charging ahead toward, without any question about whether that's the right decision or not. I think we also need to be watching Capitol Hill and seeing what the reaction is in Congress. So far, seeing a lot of support for this campaign and the objectives of preventing Iran from ever getting a nuclear weapon. I think you're going to see, you have Tulsi Gabbard testifying today. It was supposed to be about the Minnesota lawmakers, I believe. I think she's going to be faced with some questions about why she testified some time ago that Iran was not pursuing a nuclear program. The president was asked about that last night on Air Force One. He said, I don't care what she said. I think that they're pretty close to having one. And so I think that might sort of resurface. But watching for that and watching for any briefings to the Gang of Eight, intelligence members in the House or Senate on, what might need to be monitored over the next little while. And remember, the president's supposed to go abroad next week. He's supposed to go to the NATO summit. And depending on how this all turns out, I wonder if we might be seeing more travel plans get upended.
Yeah, we'll see. I know that the president wasn't happy with Macron, said that he's working on the Iran-Israel situations like he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I think that he's about fed up with some of the players that he's had to deal with, in his mind, probably way too much. In Macron, who likes to be at the center of attention. He offered his services to broker some type of ceasefire. He also wanted to be in the middle of the Ukraine situation. So I noticed, too, this just came across. Iran's death toll has surpassed 450. And Israel now says, as of an hour ago, it hit more rocket launchers. So the Israel wants to stop having to absorb all the drones and all the rockets. And we just got to see, I guess, what exactly is in the arsenal for Iran. And if they're going to have any officers left. I mean, they just lost more Quds Force intelligence leaders, lost 9 commanders the first day, nuclear scientists. The Grand Ayatollah, there were some reports last night that he might be looking for an escape hatch. What do you think's happening on the streets of Iran? Have you seen anything credible about any unrest?
Well, you did see sort of a wall of taillights after the president told the people of Tehran to evacuate overnight. That's a city of almost 10 million people, not a lot of places to go quickly. So I think plenty of concern about what might be coming next, but you also see responses to the Israeli strike on Iranian state TV, which they have said is a legitimate target because it's basically a propaganda arm of the regime. And some of the reaction in country saying, we're ready for your bombs. We hate this propaganda being shoved down our throats. They're fed up with their leadership that they've been saddled with, some people there. And so I think that, that's something to continue to watch. I also think, though, that there's been a lot of discussion about these bunker buster bombs and whether, it's sort of the magic bullet. And it's a little bit more mixed than that. And you would have a different guess than me to get into the specifics, someone of military expertise. But, from the reporting that I've been following, the U.S. military has been sort of gaming this exact scenario out for a while to see what that might entail. And there have been some exercises to indicate that one bomb wouldn't do it. An attack on Fordo would have to come in waves, a bomb, one after the next, sort of dropping in succession. But there are apparently, according to a New York Times report, some other alternatives. And we might have already seen some indicator of that. The line that I pulled for the show this morning was, if the power to Fordo gets cut by saboteurs or bombing, it could damage or destroy the centrifuges that spin at supersonic speeds. Israel took out the power supplies to that plant on Friday. And Mr. Grossi said that the disruption probably sent them spinning out of control. So I think also keeping a close eye on what those facilities look like and the activity around them. Obviously, I don't have access to that kind of intelligence, but I would imagine that that's sort of what the folks in the Situation Room are keeping an eye on through satellite images and the like.
Just quick question. Are you going to go to a press briefing today? Are they going to have anything scheduled?
Not that I'm aware of. There's been, no action out of the White House yet. That is not to indicate that something won't happen. I mean, the travel change happened, without much notice. The president got back into the White House at around 5 a.m. So I would expect that with things moving pretty quickly, we might see something. I mean, remember, it was just a day ago, it was Monday, that the president was sounding optimistic about the likelihood for a deal. So these conversations are still happening in the background, and we're just sort of witnessing the developments as they come to us. But, I mean, look at the 180 from the rhetoric that we were hearing out of the president on Monday. Likelihood for a deal, think we can get there, versus, we're going to get this done. They should have signed a deal and, get out of Tehran. I mean, that's a pretty incredible development in 24 hours' time.
But, Jackie, the thing is, it's if Iran doesn't understand how bad they played it. If they said we are considering enriching uranium outside our country, and if they said we will consider bringing the IAEA back, we're considering taking out the centrifuges, President Trump would have said, okay, we got to wait. He would have pressured the prime minister, I imagine, to go, listen, I'm making some progress here. But they came out and said both those things are not happening. We're enriching in country, and we're not going to get the centrifuges are going to stay. So when Netanyahu turns around to Trump, he said, really? You're going to have a sixth round? I think we'll stop at 60 days. We'll make you look like it's the threshold. I mean, they made the decision pretty easy.
And remember, with the offer that the U.S. made to Iran, there was, even though the White House never talked about it openly, there was, reporting that came through sourcing that said, look, you can have a civilian nuclear program if you enrich out of country. That was something that they were reportedly open to. And if they didn't take that, which the president said, look, it's in their interest to take it and run, they kind of wish this upon themselves. At least that's how the administration is looking at it. But I also wonder about the China factor, because you think about who is keeping Iran supported as they have been, and it's been China buying Iranian oil. And you heard them spouting off this morning, strongly condemning Israel's actions in Iran, and haven't heard a lot out of the White House in terms of the China angle. But that's going to be another important sort of layer to this, and layered on top of the fact that we're still pursuing all these trade deals across the world, and that's a really big one. So there are a lot of sort of different elements to this, and a lot of different angles to watch as it develops.
Yep, this is how right on you are. The Wall Street Journal's second story, breaking news. If Iran's oil is cut off, China will pay the price. Iran exports 1.7 million barrels of crude a day, 2% of the global demand. The U.S. reimposed sanctions on them. Most countries won't touch it, but so Tehran forced to sell at a discount and finds covert ways to get it to China. And China is benefiting from that and cheap oil from Russia. More than 90% of Iran's oil exports go to China right now. So what do you think they're thinking right now?
Well, you've got that, the Iranian oil factor, and then also, if you're China, you've got to worry about secondary sanctions on Russia, which, I mean, you've got so far heavy sanctions on Russia from the U.S., but relatively little sanctions enforcement. And they haven't pulled the trigger on the secondary sanctions or the next sanctions package that Congress has ready to go. I think it'll be 500% tariffs on any country that does business with Russia. And Lindsey Graham is like salivating to, drop that. And they've got, I think, a veto-proof majority ready in definitely the Senate, potentially also in the House. So if I were China, that would be a really big concern on my mind.
Yep.
You look at, those are two sort of angles that are about to get obliterated.
Yeah, they are putting out some statements over the last 48 hours. Jackie, thanks so much. Great job filling in for Dana today, as usual.
Thank you.
Big three.
Number 3.
This will reduce the deficit, not increase it. And the reason for that is, one, we are going to have the biggest spending reduction in history. But secondly, all the other things I mentioned are going to generate growth in the economy.
That is John Thune, the senator, trying to get the big, beautiful bill passed, but he's making it stronger, a little bit more responsible. But could he be losing the House in the process? I'll tell you what they're working on prior to the July 4th self-imposed deadline.
Number 2.
I want them to focus on the cities, because the cities are where you really have what's called sanctuary cities, and that's where the people are. I look at New York, I look at Chicago. I mean, you got a really bad governor in Chicago and a bad mayor.
Does anyone argue with that? Chances, change of plans? Trump backing off illegals who are working in vital industries while clamping down on illegals thriving in blue cities. Many of the 600,000 plus criminals in our midst. Let's make it easy. Get rid of the worst first.
Number 1.
Where the president is, he's supporting Israel 100% to complete the campaign that they started here. And that campaign focuses on Iran's center of gravity, their nuclear enterprise.
That is General Jacqui, the best in the business. Day 5, Israel and Iran exchange rocket fire and attacks, with Iran taking critical blows while absorbing 24 deaths and 200 plus who are banged up. Are we about to ramp up our participation, focusing on the Fordo Mountain nuclear plant? Let's ask Senator Shelley Capito. Would she be in support of that? She's on Appropriations, Commerce, and Rules. Senator, welcome. What do you think about if we are to take more of a role, if we are to drop the bunker busters ourselves? Would that be an escalation you could not support?
I think that's yet to be seen. I don't think we'll go in that direction. I don't think the president, at least the way I'm looking at his signals, I don't think that's something that he's interested in. As we know, he wants bombing and death to stop. He wants to reach an agreement here. And so I think we're a long way from considering whether we would use a bunker buster ourselves. I just don't see us further escalating this and getting our involvement. I really don't.
But do you see, is the operation worth it if their nuclear program's still intact?
I think we have to obliterate their nuclear program, and we have to let Israel work its will, which they are. Yes, and I think it's problematic because we know that in the one facility where they're developing this is way underground, very difficult to get. And the question is, does Israel have the weapon to disrupt that? And I think general thinking is, no, they don't. We're the only ones with that capability. But, that'd be a pretty big step, Brian, and we want to do everything to support Israel. But I can't say what my reaction would be until I see where we are.
Would you say that Iran is an enemy of America?
Yes, absolutely.
Why do people have a hard time understanding that, especially in your party?
I don't know. I was kind of flashing back myself to think, during Reagan with the hostages and just all of the turmoil that Iran, the hate to America, funding all the what happened in Gaza, funding the Houthis, funding Hezbollah. Yes, these are all going at Israel, but also they love to destroy America and our freedoms. And so I think that they're clearly an enemy of our country.
Right. I just think that the president doing that would be also avenging some of what they did in Iraq for those years with the insurgency. That was financed and orchestrated primarily by Iran, who killed our guys directly, cost us billions of dollars.
Well, I think the president has set a line of demarcation in terms of what our involvement would be, and that is don't touch our troops, don't touch our where we are in the Middle East. And so far they haven't, but I don't know that holds. I don't know what they're frustrated. I mean, all their military leaders are gone. I mean, it seems like yesterday they took out another one. So I think they're in a very weakened position. So what do you do? Are you like a cat in the corner and you just lash out, then you lash out at Americans? Or are you a cat in the corner wants to get out and you just lay down and wait for somebody to help you, to reach some kind of a decision? But the only decision that would satisfy, I think, me is to make sure that Iran cannot get a nuclear weapon.
So here is Victoria Coates, who I know you respect. She was on last night on Laura's show with Kayleigh McEnany, and she said this about the possibility of doing to Khomeini what they did with Nasrallah, and that is take him out. And Nasrallah, of course, he ran Hezbollah, cut 14.
I think it is certainly an option you want to keep in your back pocket. That is something that now the Iranians know, that the Israelis can reach out and touch them anytime. As you and Mike just reported, they're flying with impunity over Tehran. So I'm not sure that's a card you want to play right this minute. I don't know the details of what went down in that episode, but I think it is certainly possible that you'd want to hold on to that one going forward and see if you can actually get a good deal out of the Iranians in the interim.
All right, I want to talk about the big, beautiful, and just your thoughts on that, because it looks like Trump did call off an assassination and they had him in their crosshairs. And you have to think, well, what the Israelis have already done, they've already proven they can get to anybody at any time.
Absolutely, they can. If they can get you, have a synchronized weapon to get you in your bedroom in your apartment complex, if they can set pagers to detonate in exactly the same time, all over Hezbollah, I don't doubt any capability that Israel has. Probably the only one I know that we think they don't have is the bunker busting capability. And so, yes, the Ayatollah knows that. But who's next? I mean, there's another Ayatollah out there. So I'm not sure that the escalation of that might be more than the Israelis are willing to go into at this point.
Let's talk about the big, beautiful bill. The GOP is taking a bigger swing at Medicaid, we understand. The Senate's taking a look at it. For example, the legislation that you guys are working on would effectively cap provider taxes at 3.5%, down from the 6% now, but only for states that expanded Medicaid after the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. The care there's no sentiment in the Senate to give breaks to blue states like the one I'm in with high state taxes. So you want to cap it at 10,000 instead of 40,000. That's got a lot of New Yorkers upset. Taxes on tips, the deduction would be limited to $25,000 per person, and it would go up for Social Security to get a tax deduction up to $6,000. These are some of the things I hear you're working on. Anything you want to dispute or build on?
Well, on the SALT issue, we went through this in 2017. Personally, I led the amendment that said we have no SALT deduction. I live in West Virginia where we manage our finances. As you know, you've been in the beautiful state. We don't have all this high tax. And I don't want to reward our good behavior. I don't want West Virginians paying for New York and California. So that one, to me, I think the sentiment in the Senate is to keep it low, but understanding where the Speaker says the House is. So we'll see where we end up compromising on that. In terms of the Medicaid, look, 28% of the people in West Virginia on Medicaid. It's an important program for those who deserve it, need it, want it, qualify for it, but we got to preserve it, and it's growing exponentially. So putting a cap on the growth is not a cut. It is basically saying we're going to have the states to be more responsible. We're going to ask the hospitals to be more responsible, and this whole provider tax, I'll say, circle is going to be contained. I think I can support that. And I don't think that automatically says, well, we're going to cut 10 million people off Medicaid. That's what they're going to say. People that are going to lose Medicaid are the ones that shouldn't be on it to begin with.
And that's just it. When you put able-bodied people on it, they get such a better demand and refund that doctors prioritize those other people over people in need and the disabled.
Right. And you know, I think America's built on a great sense of fairness here. And I think part of the fairness equation is that if you're receiving a government benefit and you're able-bodied, then you should be able to work that off. That's a reasonable ask. And a fair ask, because why do some people stay in jobs they hate? Because of the health care availability. Why do they stay in lower-paying jobs or higher-paying jobs when they might want to do something else? Because of the health care availability. So if you're going to get health care, why don't you get to work and help the country get better and also fill in some of these jobs that we need so many people for? I mean, I think work is good.
I thought so, too. I think everyone agrees. Josh Hawley, somebody said, don't touch Medicaid. That's a Republican. Jeff Van Drew, don't touch Medicaid. That's a Republican. I got to ask you about the illegal immigration situation. The worst, get out the worst first. But along the way, the president is going into workplaces, Home Depots, and there is some people getting arrested that don't seem, tossed out, that don't necessarily have criminal records. And that's causing some turmoil. Do you think it's necessary turmoil?
Well, I think the fact of the matter here is, and I saw somebody trying to make the argument that coming into the United States without documentation is not illegal. Yes, it is.
Of course it is, yeah.
It is. And the fact of the matter is, while I have some empathy to people who have came here illegally and have started families and been here 15 years, you know, I can be empathetic to that. But, you know, I heard Secretary Noem say you can deport back, and then if you do that, you're going to have a better chance of getting back in here legally. And, folks that are living here illegally, it just for their whole lives, they're going to be living with one foot not firmly on the ground. And so I don't want to see them overcorrect here. I do want the criminals out. But if you've got a deportation judgment that has gone through the courts, you got to leave. Yeah,
I agree. So the president said, look, there's a lot of pressure on the hospitality wing. There's a lot of pressure on farmers. So I'm going to really pull back on that. He said that on Thursday, but it seemed to counter it a little on Monday. But I didn't know that 4.4% of the U.S. workforce is illegal immigrants, 19% of landscapers, 17% of crops production, 16% of slaughtering and meat processing. So that's a lot of people. I don't necessarily think that Americans want those jobs, even though I think it's too broad to say nobody wants those jobs, maybe. But it's also, in some of these cases, they're getting paid a lot of money. It's not like they're getting a discount. They just don't. A lot of people don't want to do it. So where do you stand on that?
Well, you know what mystifies me on that, and a company like Home Depot, for instance, that's a great, large, and very well-respected company, has systems that, E-Verify, that verify the citizenship of their workers, or their, not citizenship, but their availability of legal work. And so I think most of these folks that are like landscapers and others are probably using workers that they're temporary, they're seasonal, they're finding them, outside of Home Depot waiting to get picked up. And so I think if you're going to be fair, the American people say you got to be fair everywhere, and that includes all those industries. I mean, that's kind of a hard line, but that's what I think.
I hear you. How do you like being with Jim Justice?
I love it. I've known Jim a long time. He's a great senator, a lot of fun, and he always has a good story. And, when he and Baby Dog, they're quite a scene here.
I know. Senator Shelley Capito, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Mark, where do you think we're heading by the president leaving the G7 early and making it clear it's about what's happening with Iran?
Well, the president seems to have been very clear. I mean, every 30 minutes, every hour, you've got comments coming from the president, the White House, warning the Iranians that they've run out of time. I mean, he's made them multiple offers, peaceful opportunities in Oman. I think we're moving from Oman to Fordo, which is where the deeply buried bunker enrichment site is. And I think President Trump may be preparing U.S. forces to strike that.
So the one thing that was with the Jerusalem Post yesterday, and it was mentioned by the ambassador today, the editor said, oh, yeah, we can't do that without the U.S. It's just, there's no way. I mean, there could be a human situation where you have some people there that allow them to penetrate deep with I guess, a strike team that could take it down. But wouldn't that be a suicide mission?
Yeah, I mean, listen, the Israelis can certainly do damage. They've done massive damage to the rest of Iran's nuclear infrastructure. But if this site remains, Brian, this is deeply buried under a mountain, heavily fortified. Iran can use this site to develop nuclear weapons. The United States has B-2 bombers and 30,000-pound massive ordnance penetrators that can slice through mountains and through concrete and destroy this last remaining nuclear weapons facility. The president of the United States has that opportunity. And Khamenei's last chance, if he doesn't go to Amman and start negotiating seriously to permanently dismantle his program, I think President Trump may destroy it for him.
So this is what we hear from Arab intermediaries. They say Iran is not ready to make concessions on nuclear talks. The public statements from Iranian leaders support the claim by Arab intermediaries as well that the president of Iran continues to threaten severe responses if the U.S. failed to restrain Israel and separately defended Iran's right to peacefully have nuclear energy and research. They're acting like this military operation is not happening, that they haven't lost 9 commanders, most of their key scientists, and their Quds Force intelligence officers.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. I mean, they think President Trump is bluffing. They don't think he's going to use military force, because if they did, they would be immediately back at the negotiating table looking for a deal that permanently dismantles this program, because the Israelis and the U.S. Air Force can permanently dismantle this program from the air.
So the president of the United States has noticed what's going on. He had a heads up going in. And now there's some speculation that the Iranians feel like they were duped, that the president said, I gave you 60 days, but we did have a meeting scheduled for Sunday, and that along the way, Israel was planning to do this all along, and that the U.S. was complicit in the deception. I don't see it that way. I think if they came across and said, we will have a consortium to enrich uranium outside the country, it would have put all kinds of pressure on the U.S. to go ahead and do a deal.
Absolutely. I mean, the president gave them an offer. He gave them an offer that they could temporarily
put it on a white paper.
He put it on a white paper. He offered it in Oman. Steve Witkoff was there with the lead Iran negotiator, Jacqui. It was an offer. You can temporarily enrich. We're going to build you a joint enrichment facility. You can have fuel rods for your civilian nuclear energy program. But if you don't do this, President Trump has been clear, Brian, since his first term, that he will not let Iran develop nuclear weapons. It's shocking to me that Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, thinks the president is bluffing and didn't take the deal that was offered just a couple of weeks ago.
And so far he hasn't taken it yet. How much damage do you think Israel has done? And you're reading some of the accounts of their early operations. This thing was well planned.
It's extraordinary. I mean, this is probably one of the greatest deception operations ever run by a military. Other examples are the 1967 war, the operations in World War II at Normandy. I think that the deep penetration of the Iranian security establishment by Israel has clearly led to devastating blows. I mean, there was false communications through the Iranian system. They managed to gather the entire IRGC Aerospace Command together in a meeting and killed all of them. I mean, this is the command structure responsible for ballistic missile firing. Mossad has been operating on the ground for many years. Sleeper cells, drones have been set up. I mean, they're devastating the military security and nuclear infrastructure. And it's just, again, shocking to me that Khamenei doesn't understand that Israel probably can do most of it and that the United States could end it all.
Mark, some were disappointed, and maybe I think their expectations were too high, that between 10 and 15% of these rockets into Israel getting through, when you have 2 levels of the Arrow system, you got the Iron Dome, you got David Sling, you have a laser system. People thought, well, they're fine. But some of these rockets have gotten through. As an expert in the field, are you surprised?
I'm not surprised. I mean, the success ratio has always been about 90%, and so 10% will get through. The Iranians have a ballistic missile inventory of 3,000 missiles. Of 2,000 of them can reach Israel. They probably fired already 450 ballistic missiles. Some have gotten through. I mean, these, Brian, are devastating missiles with 1- and 2-ton warheads. And the only consolation is that they're conventional right now. Iran, it was poised to develop nuclear warheads. Nuclear tipped missiles would have devastated Israel for forever.
And just judging by the fact that they're going for civilian targets, what makes you think that they would not put nuclear tips on the ends of those rockets?
Well, Khamenei has made clear over and over again that his goal is to destroy Israel, to wipe Israel, quote, off the face of the earth. And so one should always take these threats from these genocidal, theocratic fanatics seriously. That is why Israel is acting preemptively. And Khamenei had given the order to his nuclear weapons scientists to develop the warhead, the last remaining element that he needed for a deliverable nuclear weapon. That is why Israel had to preemptively strike.
I did hear some reports late last night, not confirmed obviously, that there is some movement to the Ayatollah and some others to move over to Russia. I mean, that seems to be where everyone goes these days. Would you look for that? I mean, especially if he sees himself having a Gaddafi-like ending to his reign?
It's interesting. He actually has never left the country in his entire life. It would be actually ironic if the first time he ever leaves.
He's 85 years old.
Yes, he's 85, 86 years old, and the first time he ever leaves would be to escape the Israelis, who he has called the Little Satan, and to escape the Americans, who he has called the Great Satan.
Couple of things, just real quick on the Ukraine situation. Zelensky's done some really great things too with drones, but it looks like the Russians are not letting up. Where's this conflict heading?
Yeah, this conflict just keeps going on. The Ukrainians are fighting bravely. They're showing incredible ingenuity with this drone operation against Russia's strategic bombers. And I think this conflict will drag on unless we give the Ukrainians the long-range systems to strike Russian forces that have been mobilizing on the Russian-Ukrainian border. President Trump has been doing everything possible to end this bloody conflict. Vladimir Putin has been recalcitrant. He's been refusing to do so. And unless the United States and Ukraine have leverage, I'm afraid it's going to drag on.
Last two questions. Number one, if it was your decision and the president said, what should I do? Would you provide the bunker busters to allow Fordo to be exposed?
Well, the bunker busters can only be delivered by B-2 bombers or perhaps by C-130s. So it'll be a hugely risky operation for the Israelis to drop a bunker buster on Fordo from a C-130. They've got to actually take out all the air defenses. Otherwise, that C-130 is a sitting duck. I think you either provide it to the Israelis, who will take that mission. The Israelis may have some tricks up their sleeve, but at the end of the day, the B-2 bombers of the U.S. Air Force have been training for this mission for years. And I think this could be really America's victory, President Trump's victory, and a message to the Chinese, the Russians, and the North Koreans that the United States is back after President Biden's devastating withdrawal from Afghanistan, which undermined credibility.
Yes. And also, would you let the Senate pass the sanctions bill to put more sanctions on Russia?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we got to put devastating sanctions, again, on Russia in order to increase our negotiating leverage, to send a message to Vladimir Putin, do a deal or there's going to be more pain.
Mark Dubowitz, thanks so much. For the CEO of Foundation for Defense of Democracies. It's going to be an interesting time, and I'm with you on both those decisions.
We have a great show. He stars in the new movie F1. Javier Bardem is here. From the White Lotus and the Gilded Age, Carrie Coon is joining us. And we have stand-up from the very funny John Crist. Stick around. Our next guest can currently be seen on his Jokes for Humans tour, making his Tonight Show debut. Please welcome the very funny John Crist.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? Listen, big news for me. I don't want to brag up front, but we're not engaged yet, but I did just get invited to join my girlfriend's family group chat.
And it got better from there. That was called the setup.
That's the intro.
Yes. John Crist was on the Tonight Show last night, and he's telling everybody. Jimmy Fallon.
I'll be telling everybody.
Right.
The guy on the street, he's like, do you want to? I go, hey, I pulled him aside. I go, I was on the Tonight Show last night.
Right. So what was it like?
It was unbelievable. Well, that's for
Who was your first one?
First time ever. That's like that's the Super Bowl.
Right.
For a stand-up comic, that's the top. What's the top for a guy like you?
This is it.
The radio?
Yeah, the radio.
Morning radio.
There you go.
Yeah.
You're on it right now. It doesn't get any better than this. Come on, John. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Hey, I know
Maybe
you want me to
interviewing the president or something, go in the Oval Office.
Well, yeah, we're going to do that July 2nd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the first when you were young? What was the first time that you were like, I'm doing it? You remember?
No, I've been on the Tonight Show.
No, not the Tonight Show, but whatever is equivalent. Then somebody called you and said, we need you for the whatever thing. And you're like, oh, I might be a real journalist now.
No, I'm still waiting for that. It's not going to be much longer. In fact, when this segment, I'm going to check my phone.
Fingers crossed.
There might be a text.
Fingers crossed, dude.
Right. So, I mean, how's your tour going?
Oh, unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
We go to, I feel like we're going to small, like not smaller and smaller cities, but like more like because comedy you can travel.
Right.
If you're music, you got the 2 trucks and the band and the guys.
Like, what
comedy,
do you have? What do you have?
You just a microphone.
Right.
If that.
Right.
If the sound guy doesn't show up, I'll just yell.
You can yell. That's why you have cones.
Yeah, that's right.
You go to the construction.
That's how I started, just like Jesus.
Right.
That's how he started. On the shoreline, he had to have a hill.
Right.
So he could talk to everybody.
Is that true? He tried a situation. He had set it up so he could echo off the wall.
You're looking at me, and I'm like talking on
Jesus.
This is how Jesus did it.
No, but here you do have that religious background.
Well, you know how? Let's see, like the Colosseum. It's kind of dug out, and you can kind of it can't be just yelling out into the ocean.
Do you write stuff down?
Me?
So if you go on the road, you're gonna need a pen. Right?
Yeah, all the time. I need a pen. Yeah, if I start doing this bit about how Jesus talked and you hear it, you're like, that's my bit.
I know.
You stole that from me.
I know. So let me share a story that might not be worthy.
Let's hear it.
But let's try it.
Hey, this is how everything starts. Yeah,
Right.
that's how inspiration starts. Don't cut it out. Don't say that before it starts.
So Lee Bryce is at the old Westbury Music Theater.
Okay.
And he's there. That's 20 minutes from my house. So I show up and I get there early and he's like, you don't mind. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was civilian.
Okay.
But, so I get up there and he said, why don't you stop by first? And I walked in. He's like, I hope you don't mind. Just take a seat. I'm working on something. I said, great.
Yeah.
And the song is great. I'm with friends. I'm like, they do it. And he sounds fantastic. He said, let me just try to record this and I'll be right with you. We record it. And my neighbors are like, oh my God, what's happened with that song? What happened with that song?
Yeah, where is
it? 6 months goes by, 8 months goes by. Lee Bryce finally shows up. I go, Lee. Last time I saw you, he goes, yeah, old Westbury. I go, that song. He goes, I don't know what you're talking about. Has no idea what I'm talking about. So I go, what does it sound like? So I call my name. He goes, he asked me, what was I doing? I go, wait a second. You have no memory of this? He goes, no, I'm doing this. That's what I do all the time.
Yeah.
I said, all right. So I call my friends. I go, just you remember anything?
Yeah.
So he called me up. He texts me and goes, do you remember anything? Because it sounds like something I should remember. So we go back and forth. We piece it together. Yeah. He goes back to the day, goes to the time. He can't believe he forgot the song. He's going to record it. He's going to put it out. All because I drilled it into him.
Oh, man.
Right. So do I deserve a little bit of credit for that?
That's 100%.
Like co-writer?
A lot of artists, they're like, this is nothing. And then somebody 2 years later goes, hey, remember that one thing? That's you saying it might have been something.
Right.
And all artists want is something.
Do you think that he saw in me that I was old junior high in 8th grade, clarinet? Third row.
He goes, hey, listen, it's not Bono, it's Brian musical expertise. Brian Kilmeade's the guy I'm going to listen to.
Anybody who has to put his instrument together.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty good.
That's how I don't think women love musicians. Right. I don't think that would be in that category.
What about comedians?
Oh, yeah.
Generally.
Yeah, dude, I got bullied in high school. Then I became a comedian. Everybody was like, "Oh, what's up?"
And are you still the kid in your head that was bullied?
Yes.
Or are you the famous guy that's not?
I don't think any artist is the famous guy.
Right.
Yeah. You go, well, I'm on the Jimmy Fallon. Oh, they must have done a favor for my agent. You're like, oh no, they just wanted this topic because it's Father's Day, or it's not because of my podcast airing was the most highly rated of the whole year. Oh, it's because it was
Taylor Swift.
Yeah. Oh,
so is that the voice in your head, or is that the people critical of you?
A voice in my head, for sure. Because I was like, this is getting serious, but I told my therapist, I was like, every time I feel like everybody's like, you're a loser, like, I can't believe you said that, I can't believe, and my therapist goes, well, who said that? And I hadn't.
You had no answer.
No, dude. You're like, oh, everybody thinks Brian is.
Yeah.
Well, who said that? Do you have any? No, somebody as a kid said that.
Right.
And you repeated it. Now we're getting very serious.
But here's the thing, John. Here's the question.
Tell us.
Is if you go through that as a kid and you have this less than ideal childhood.
Yep.
But your career ends up flourishing. It's worth it. Right? I mean, come on. It's like, is boot camp worth becoming a general?
Oh,
well, boot camp was terrible.
Yeah. Dude, you know what? My buddy, he's very wealthy. He lives down in Nashville. He's got 3 young girls, and he goes, yeah, we're forcing them to play sports, to be in student government. We're really pushing them because you're going to end up in therapy in your 30s anyway. Might as well be rich.
Right. You might as well have the money.
Might as well can afford it.
Yeah, if you could satisfy your own deductible as an adult, I think you're okay.
So if you go, hey, we're going to parent this one way. No rules. kids do whatever they want, eat whatever they want, just no please and thank you,
Not
or
good, yeah.
very rigid. We're gonna maybe enforce some discipline. They're gonna be in therapy in the 30s either way.
You've done something wrong at some point.
Might as well work in one of these offices on the 87th floor.
Therapy pays off in your mind?
Yes.
Would you do the phone call therapy? Like they have.
Yeah.
You would do
that.
Even
no,
like
I do a Zoom. I wouldn't do a phone call.
No, because you pick that person out. There's services, psychological services now where you just call in and they match up with somebody.
Yeah, I think
would
it's
you
called
do that?
Chat GPT.
Those are artificial, I believe. So Warren Zeiders, who you have the same publicist. So he comes in, he does our show.
I saw him come through
and
here.
then we do a feature together. The president saw him and he said some nice things about the president at the end. He goes, I'd love to play golf with him and appreciate what he's doing. Not even.
And he doesn't even play golf.
Put it this way, it's not like one of these guys that just loves him. He goes, yeah, I like him. I'd love to meet him one day.
Yeah.
Well, the president sees him, listens to the music, goes, I like this guy.
Yeah.
And he's famous. So he gets on, and it was time to have the president's going to have a parade.
Yeah.
He's like, I want Warren Zeiders. Warren Zeiders got like, what, 4 number 1 songs, right?
Huge.
Great
Warren's
story.
huge.
Like you, generated his own audience before Nashville.
TikTok,
or anybody.
he did it by himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why your publicist likes them.
Yeah.
Right? Likes these self-made people.
Now when Warren comes back, he doesn't have time to do this show.
Right.
I've been
He's
on
too
the show
big.
7 times where I'm waiting for the payoff.
Well, you got it. You got the Tonight Show.
You're taking credit for it? I
was hoping that you would close a circle. not a 360, but a 180.
Yeah, 180, dude.
So I want you to hear how NBC, he's up there on stage.
Yep.
The guy's, what, 24, 26?
Very attractive man.
I wasn't even getting that. I was just talking about his age.
Oh, oops.
He's very good built. He's well built.
Well built, yeah.
Which, is that any better?
Yeah, I can
so
say that.
So listen to NBC.
All right.
How arrogant. Listen to this.
We expect there to be several performances as a part of this celebration that's happening on the National Mall today for the Army's 250th birthday. I don't know who this is singing right now, and I probably should, but...
we were told there would be a surprise. I was also hoping we would be told who the surprise is. But this is, I'm sure, an important booking.
If anyone in our control room has an idea, we'd love to hear it just for folks who are watching. Say it again.
Warren Zeiders.
Zeiders, okay.
That's what we're told.
Wallen Zeiders. I think it was Wallen.
Wallen?
Yeah.
Time for the Google.
Yeah.
Country music fans are very frustrated with us right now.
You believe these? It's so.
That is so
meanwhile, you hear the song in the background. I think it's number 1 in the country right now. I mean, that's like the extremely well-known song. You should feel a little bit of humility.
Yeah, or at least like if you politics aside, if you're the news. You're supposed to know,
I know, yeah.
You're supposed to know what the stuff is.
You should know the band.
We watch you to tell us who the people are.
Exactly.
I don't get it's the shots.
When do we see you on stage? Because I think I'm coming to the end of your appearance.
Oh, okay. Where, here?
Well, anywhere. Just
trying
to tell me where you are?
You know what? I'm off for 6 weeks.
Oh, you did. The last time you were here, you were up right before your vacation.
And then I'm going to go back in September.
Where do we find that? JohnCrist.com?
Everywhere. I'm going to be 32 cities in the fall.
So just find you.
Oh, yeah.
Check the stage. He'll be there.
Your town. I'm coming there.
All right. And just remember, you had Tonight Show, but I'd like to be number 2.
I'll
be
take
number
that.
2?
Number 2 in our hearts.
Stay in number 2.
Yeah,
right?
Number 2.
Brian Kilmeade, almost as cool as Jimmy Fallon. Actually, not at all. Thanks, John Crist.